I am very excited to be joined by my next two guests. Alan Cumming and Ari Shapiro will be coming to the Meridian Theater at Centerpoint March 22nd for their Och and Oy considered cabaret show. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for having us.
Absolutely. I have to ask right off the bat. So, how did this all come together? Because from what I understand, Ari, you interviewed Alan, and then at some point you guys had a discussion about let's put a show together. Like, how did that all come together?
Yeah, we became friends when Alan was doing cabaret on Broadway for the second time. And then we did a few live events on stage. And after one of them, which was for the 50th anniversary of Stonewall, we did an event in Washington, D.C. We were walking off stage, and Alan turned to me and said, "We have such a good rapport doing these kinds of things. We should make a show together." And I turned to him and I said, "Don't joke about that because I will
Grab
absolutely
me.
take you up on it."
You grabbed me. Your nails kind of clung into my what's this part called? That part.
Forearm.
Forearm. Yes, I've never recovered.
And that was that.
And he said, "I'm not joking." And now we
Yeah.
have a show.
That's amazing. So,
I'm a
could
man of my word.
could you explain what people can expect to see when they fill the Meridian Theater at Center Point for your show? What tell the good people what they can expect.
Well, it's an old-fashioned cabaret. It's us on stage with our musical director Henry Kapersky on the piano, and we tell stories and sing songs. Basically, that's basically what it is. But it's sort of in a bigger way about sort of our difference and how, in a way that what our we represent the idea that we may seem very different. We come from different parts of the showbiz spectrum. We come from different countries. Are very, very different people, but actually we have a lot more in common than you might imagine. And it's our difference and is always amuses us, but also at our cores, we're very similar people. So it's sort of sadly and awfully incredibly prescient right now that, maybe you'll find more things that you have in common with people than the things that you don't.
Oh,
Let's hope.
no, absolutely. I really appreciate that sentiment. Ari, if I can speak to you for a moment, I'm
Yeah.
looking at the two of you gentlemen. You're both very accomplished in your own right. We've got a gentleman here on the screen here who's like a Tony Award winning, performer. Was there a level of
And
intimidation?
Emmy. Don't forget
And,
the
oh,
Emmy.
oh, absolutely. I listen. If we were going to talk about the Alan earmuffs for a second, I don't want to embarrass you and get your head to be too big. If we were going to be talking about the accolades of this gentleman, we'd be here for a while. So absolutely, well and all well deserved. But going back specifically to the Tony, because that speaks to the singing and performing piece, was that a little intimidating coming into this, saying, okay, this is what I'm going to be hanging out with on a regular basis? Because I mean, I love this story, but I think to myself, like, for example, if I was to, I don't know, if I was to come across in his time and meet Prince and he would say, "Oh, let's go on tour," I'm not singing on stage with Prince. But then again, I'm not as talented as you are. So maybe not a great question, but was there a level of intimidation is where I'm going to stop with this.
The amazing thing about sharing a stage with Alan, he's obviously a warm person and a selfless, generous performer, but more than that, I just knew that if the train was ever going off the tracks, he knows how to get it back on the tracks. I knew that if I jumped, he would catch me. And so rather than feeling overwhelmed or intimidated by his amazing talent, experience, and record of stunning show-stopping performances, I just felt like this is a guy who knows what he's doing. And so the fact that I have no idea what I'm doing will be compensated for.
Which is also a load of rubbish because Ari knows totally what he's doing. He's much more of a pro than I am. He's much more together. He's much more proficient. I'm just a hot mess. And I've kind of, made that into a career. And Ari's much better at all this than I am. He's much better at most things than I am, actually.
As you
Okay.
can see, one of the nice things about this show is that we each bring something a little different to the table. Uh,
I love that. Now, in your own right, a very accomplished journalist, Ari, have you been at, kind of like sitting at the desk covering news and just thinking to yourself, I've got this other side of me that I've just been wanting to showcase for so long, and then this was the opportunity to do it?
it's not that. I really love telling stories on the radio. I love practicing journalism. I love hosting All Things Considered on NPR. At the same time, there's something different about live performance where you connect with an audience and you create something that will never exist in quite that same way again with those people. For many years, I've been a frequent guest artist with the band Pink Martini. I've played the Montreal Jazz Festival with them and other venues in Canada. So I've always had this performing side project. But getting to do the show with Alan, above and beyond the show itself, is getting to hang out with a friend and have a great time and make each other laugh. And an audience just gets to eavesdrop and be a part of it each night.
I
I
love
agree.
that. I love that because it kind of I get the feeling like no two shows alike. I mean, I get the feeling that there might be similar similarities in terms of songs and things of that nature, but also the level of connection that you might have with an audience and some of the stories that come along the way might be
Well,
different as well.
no, I mean, no, it's quite structured.
Okay.
Like all these, and all like all good sort of shows like this, it should feel like we're just making it up as we go along. And when people think we're improvising, we're making it up, I love that because
Mhm.
that's how we are faking it.
Mhm.
And that's but we're having such fun whilst doing that. And also there's little things, we put little things in, but mostly it's around a pretty tight structure. It has a sort of a little journey. And but I really love the fact that when people think we've made it up as we go along, that means it's been a success because you should feel like two friends just mucking it about, which it is. It just
Mhm.
has a bit of a hidden structure than you might imagine.
Well, you got me, and I'm very excited to check it out. What do you want people to get out of it? We talked earlier about seeing that sometimes people might on the surface seem different, but they've got more in common than they realize. And I think again, to your point, the world needs a lot of that right now, especially with everything going on. But what else are you hoping that audiences get out of this? Because it seems like they're in for a very enjoyable show.
It's a cliche to say that we live in a time of isolation and division. But I think making the decision to go to a live performance with a bunch of strangers is an act that breaks out of those gravitational pulls towards isolation and division. And my hope is that as people have a great time and laugh and get swept away in the stories, they feel more connected to each other and to their fellow humans, and that they leave the venue feeling like they've sipped a little bit of an antidote to that sense of division and isolation that plagues so much of life today.
Mhm. Yay, I like that too.
Alan's just gonna agree with everything you say, and I love it. That's what
Yeah.
a true partnership is. Um, Alan, listen, Alan, we look at your filmography and your career, and it is extremely impressive. I know you're at the point in your life where people are coming up to you. I heard you said one time people are always asking you to do lines like I think I'm invincible, one of the famous ones from GoldenEye, and that. I'm not going to ask you to do that, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your experience working with Stanley Kubrick on Eyes Wide Shut, his final movie. He was such a fantastic filmmaker. I love that you were part of his final project. Any memories in terms of working with any memories that you'd like to share in terms of working with Stanley on that film?
Well, mostly just that um, he was so lovely, and the whole experience was kind of quite revelatory for me. And actually, I was really at a point I'd made a couple of films in Hollywood, and I just thought, is this it? Is this is supposed to be it? And I felt kind of disillusioned about acting. I sort of was too scared to do any theater. I had done a couple of films in Hollywood, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, you're in Hollywood," and I was like, "Ew." And I was just sort of I decided to wait. I went back to London and decided to wait around for this. It was months. I was saying, "Oh, it's next week." Oh no, it's in 2 months. It's like for this tiny scene. I just sort of thought I'd have some time off, and you do, I assumed correctly it was going to be his last film. And then when I came to it, I sort of was sort of both kind of in a good place about it because I thought, it's just another thing, but also I was really looking forward to it. And I had no, my expectations were kind of ones of being quite nervous and that he was going to be scary, and everyone said he was really mean. And I just, on our very first interaction, I stood up to him. He said to me, we were standing there with Tom Cruise and him talking about the scene. The very first interaction, before we even talked about the scene, I said, "Hello, I'm Alan Stanley." And he went, "You're not American," like that, really aggressive. It's like 6 a.m. And I was like, "I know, I'm Scottish." And he went, "Well, you were American on the tape," like that, because I auditioned all these times, but never to him, only with the producer. And I just went, "Yeah, that's because I'm an actor, Stanley." And he just went, looked at me, and then he went, "Oh, let's rehearse." And we went on, and after that, I did it. There's another thing I did as well with somebody else when I stood up to them, and he saw me doing that. And it wasn't like I was being bolshy. I just held my ground, and I think that when people are like that and kind of potentially scary, if you are scary around them, they will be scary. And if you stand up to them, they'll think, "Oh, you're an interesting person. I'll open up to you." And that's what he did. We had such a great time. I think of it with such fondness. And his nephew, is it his nephew? Yeah, was the photographer on it, and he was married to a friend of mine. So after the film was finished, until he died, we kind of kept in touch and sent messages back and forward and everything. And it's such an incredible thing to have been a part of. But mostly, I think I think of it as he kind of reignited my excitement about acting. Because I was at a time in my life, as I say, I was disillusioned, and every single time we did a take, I knew exactly what I was doing and what I was trying to achieve and what tiny little eye movement or nuance in my speech he wanted to achieve. And so it was, it really made me realize that thing. There's no small parts, just small actors.
I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Uh, Ari, I don't want to leave you out of this. I've got an indirect, that was a direct Stanley Kubrick question. I've got an indirect Stanley Kubrick question for you. As you guys were going through rehearsal, because of Alan's work with Stanley Kubrick and him being so, Kubrick being a director who was so meticulous and known for like multiple takes and long shoots, were there times during rehearsal that you would do something and Alan would say, "Nope, we got to do it again.
But we didn't
Nope, we got to do it
rehearse.
again." No rehearse? I love it. I love it. We're just ad-libbing it. We're just going with
The
it. I
idea
love
that
it.
I would be the one saying, "Let's do that again, let's do that again." No, I'll be like, "Can we have a drink? Let's do that after we've had a drink."
All right.
Absolutely. The digressions are the best part.
Right?
And an hour later saying, now where were we? That's the most fun.
I love that. I need to hang with you guys more often. All right. I always want to be respectful of the time, but it would not be a Keith Whittier interview if we didn't drift through a little thing I like to call rapid fire questions. These questions are meant to be nothing more than fun and entertaining. Rapid fire always starts with the same question. What is your favorite movie of all time? I'll come to both of you for this. And if you can't give me one, I do accept a top three. And just so we are clear, there are no wrong answers in rapid fire. So whoever would like to start with a favorite movie, please feel free to go ahead.
Waiting for Guffman.
That's
Nice.
my runner-up. My first place is Grey Gardens.
Nice.
Ah,
Nice. Excellent. You guys are about to embark on the show in Canada. Tell me about some of the things you love doing when you come to Canada. I don't know if I can be specific to Ottawa because I'm not sure if you've been to Ottawa before, but I'm ready to be your tour guide. But is there anything that you particularly like when you come to Canada?
I like smoking BC weed when I go to
To
what do you
BC?
call it?
Yeah. You like
Vancouver.
Vancouver? Yeah.
Everyone's very proud of rightly proud of their weed there.
Okay.
And what else do I like there? I love Wreck Beach. It's a nudist beach where I went to once, Kellen. So you get it. You can see
Yeah.
what my downtime's
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Gotcha.
I grew up in Portland, Oregon, so most of my Canada memories are also on the West Coast, but my family was much more wholesome. So I associate hiking and kayaking and canoeing and snowshoeing with being in Canada.
I see. We got the devil.
And
We
here
got
you
the
get the
angel.
difference between me and
I
Alan.
like it. I like it. Uh so listen, obviously this has been a successful show. Audiences are loving it. What are the chances that we get the two of you on a Broadway show at some point?
Find time in our schedules.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
I
fair.
mean, you mean
That's the
together?
challenge.
Together? Or you mean do this
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Broadway?
together. Like
It has been
whether it's
suggested.
this or another type of project, but I see this as a collaboration that's not just going to be for this for Akanoy, but I think this is something that's gonna I think the two of you are just intertwined now. Just deal
Oh
with it. You're
yes,
in each other's lives. So
we have a lifelong bond.
Yeah.
exactly.
Us and Henry, our musical director, we have this little threesome,
Yeah.
little couple of musical chatty fun.
Maybe we should do Waiting for Godot like Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
Oh, and Henry could be lucky.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Great.
There you go. Listen, gentlemen, I want to thank you both so much for your time. Really excited about seeing the show. Och and Oy, I'm going to get the
Thank you.
pronunciation of that. A considered cabaret coming to the Meridian Theater at Centerpoint Theater March 22nd. We'll drop all the information on how you can get your tickets. Truly an honor speaking with both of you gentlemen. Wishing you guys nothing but the best, and really looking forward to rolling out the red carpet and seeing you here in the nation's capital.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Keith. We'll see you in
Lovely to
Ottawa.
talk with you.